What's good? You're watching and listening to Daniel and Gian talk shit. I am Gian Perez.
And I'm Daniel Trujillo.
Yeah, we're doing the last name thing now. But today we're going to talk about, we haven't done a podcast in a while. It's going to be a short one, but
A mini cast.
But we're going to talk about the Aziz Ansari controversy that's going along with the Me Too movement. I mean, I feel like this is the third podcast we've done about
This is the third podcast.
about the sexual assault stuff that's going on in Hollywood, and this is the latest cause. But this one's a little bit different because there's arguments going on online about what actually is sexual assault, and if what Aziz Ansari did was he just a douchebag, or was this an actual assault? And the thing that I find most interesting about it is that there's not a lot of mansplaining going on in these articles. I've read 3 separate articles already, one in The Atlantic.
Weren't they all written by women?
They're all written by women. One in The Atlantic, one in, there was a blog.
New York Times. There's a New York Times.
One New York Times, a New York Times article.
Don't you think, before you go into it, sorry to cut you off, do you think that's because the New York Times, The Atlantic, they want female perspective, so they kind of put a female writer on it?
It could potentially be that they wanted to get some,
As opposed to like, all right, let's have another man article talking about Aziz.
which is smart, which is because nobody wants it. Like there's going to be women that watch this and they're going to be like, what are these guys talking about? Like they have no room to talk. And we don't to a certain extent, but we do because people's lives are getting affected now. Like people's livelihoods are getting affected. They've been getting affected, and deservedly so. But now we're at a case where we're at a gray area. And I if you're not familiar with if you've been living under a rock and you're not familiar with what's going on.
That's me.
Aziz Ansari, there's a website called Babe. So it's a women's blog.
Oh, it's a blog. Okay.
It's a women's blog. I'm assuming that's what it is. And an anonymous person came out and says that she went out on a date with Aziz Ansari. She describes the date, and then when they got back to his place, that he was like super aggressive, and she left crying and humiliated because of how he treated her. And she goes through the details of the date. At the end of the night, he sends her, while she's on the Uber home, he sends her, or maybe the next day, he sends her a text message saying, hey, I had a great time, we should do it again, or whatever. And she says, you may have had a great time, but I had a terrible time, and maybe you need to pick up on the way you treat women a little bit better. And you see the screenshot in the article. And he has not completely accepted it, but he said, he has responded and said that although it was consensual, that he maybe needs to be a little bit more considerate of women when these things happen, because he didn't pick up on what she was putting out there.
And it says, and I have the New York Times article. It says, and this is from the New York Times. At various points, she being Grace, the anonymous person you're talking about. At various points, she told the reporter she attempted to voice her hesitation and that Mr. Ansari ignored her signals. At last, she uttered the word no for the first time during their encounter to Mr. Ansari's suggestion that they have sex in front of a mirror. He said, quote, how about we just chill, but this time with our clothes on. They got dressed, sat on the couch, and watched Seinfeld. She said to him, you guys are all the same. He called her an Uber. She cried on the way home. Finn. And it says, if you're wondering what about this evening constituted the worst night of Grace's life, or why it is being framed as a Me Too story by a feminist website, you probably feel as confused as Mr. Ansari, because and then it goes on to explain what you just did about the text message. And she said, last night might have been fun for you, but it wasn't for me. You ignored clear nonverbal cues. You kept going with advances. You had to have noticed I was uncomfortable. And then the editorial says, put in other words, I am angry that you weren't able to read my mind. And then she goes on to explain it was worthy, carefully studying Grace's story, encoded in it are new yet deeply retrograde ideas about what constitutes consent and what constitutes sexual violence. We are told by the reporter that Grace says, quote, she used verbal and nonverbal cues to indicate how uncomfortable and distressed she was.
We'll put the links of the articles in the thing, because if not, Daniel's going to spend the next 10 minutes reading every single paragraph.
I think people, let me just finish this paragraph. It's almost done. I think people do care about what was actually said. At least when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm like, oh, tell me more. She adds that, quote, whether Ansari didn't notice Grace's resistance or knowingly ignored it is impossible for her to say. We are told that, quote, he wouldn't have let her move away from him in the encounter. And then she goes on to basically say that Ansari said, by all indications, the encounter was completely consensual. And then she said, I'm proud. And then now we can talk. Because now she's going into her actual opinion.
The issue with the article too is even the details that Grace gives is like they're kind of all over the place. Like she starts off by talking about that she wanted red wine, but he ordered white wine. Like he didn't even ask her what kind of wine she wanted, but she didn't.
Which is not a reason.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with sexual assault. She's just trying to. It totally feels like she's trying to paint him out to be a douchebag, which maybe he is.
Might be.
He probably is. And you know what?
Because I feel like we all are to certain degrees to certain people. I think
the biggest issue with him is like he's been seen as an ally and he's been part of the,
and he probably is.
Outspoken. Yeah, and he doesn't see himself the way that she saw him. And this is like, that article, the article in the Atlantic, maybe one of the articles specifically says that it seems like she's disappointed that he didn't turn out to be the person that she like built him up to be. Like she got dressed nicely, she picked outfits, she was excited to go out on a date with him, and then she got treated like a groupie.
And I haven't read the full thing, but from what I just read and what you just told me, I feel like I don't see where the issue is. I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. And this is not me advocating one way or the other. I know what fucking consent is. I hate this whole thing about let's teach men what consent is. Well, first of all, if he was going to force himself on her, clearly he didn't, because she didn't say that, right?
Right.
And if the article is to be taken verbatim as fact, and that, because that's another topic in general. We're just taking these things at face value now, no matter what. And we had this initial conversation with Lauren and Danielle, and I brought up the point where well, what about the justice system? What about this, right? And then they immediately squashed that down. And at the time, that's how crazy things are, it made sense. We were just dealing with Harvey Weinstein. Okay, you know what? We shouldn't when it has to do with Harvey Weinstein cases. You're right. We probably shouldn't. There's enough of them. But now we're months later and we're at the point where it's like, oh, I can post on a blog and ruin someone's career.
Yeah.
Does that mean this event
anonymously?
Anonymously. Does that mean this didn't happen? No, that's not what I'm saying. But now you got to start to think, okay, where is the line in the sand? Because there needs to be one. There absolutely needs to be one, because I foresee if there isn't a line in the sand, men are going to start becoming uber defensive.
Oh, no.
In my opinion, with feminism right now, there is no baseline. There's feminists who believe this way, and they don't. Certain feminists hate other feminists. Everyone's fighting with each other.
And these articles are like, that's proof positive. It's not a united front.
Which is what I'm saying. So it's just going to make it worse.
Men are going to clap back, and they're going to be white men. And if you go through history, who's done the worst shit?
And I'm just, and this isn't to say that people can't feel brave to come out, and they should. No. But what is gained by this?
No, nothing. You just ruined some guy's career. He's gonna forever be labeled as people are gonna automatically assume that he raped this girl.
Because they're going to read a headline.
Exactly. And they're not going to read, some people read it. And there's a blog came out today where the girl's like, you know what? It's okay for her to feel bad about what happened. It's okay.
It is okay.
And men need to realize that they do that sometimes they behave a certain way and they need to be accountable for their actions. And I get that. That's fine. But what the issue that we have here, and this is what what I found fascinating from the Atlantic article and the New York Times article, was both of these women were older. They were the Atlantic, I'm not sure, but she's definitely older than 30. And the one that wrote the New York Times, I think she went to high school in the 70s, so she's like in her 50s, maybe 60. And their perspective was completely different. And the key thing that I saw in the Atlantic article, more than you can read this, was that
I haven't read this article.
She talks about how even though you had these magazines that were probably written by men or by older women, basically chastising you, telling you not to be a slut or whatever, the teen magazines, and telling you how to behave, basically creating a woman who's going to be subservient to men. That was the point back then. At the same time, they told you don't be a victim. And they said, if you feel threatened, slap a man, scream, wail on him, make a scene, and get the fuck out of there.
But see, what you're talking about right now has nothing to do with what happened with Aziz.
No, it does. That's what these two articles, that's the main point of their article, is that this girl had every single opportunity to leave.
That's what I'm saying.
and she did not.
Because she wasn't in a situation that would call for that or warrant for
exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
We're still labeling this guy as a sex offender or a sexual assault.
That's what I'm...
And I think that's the big divide, and that's the issue that people are having. Because there's feminists coming down on other feminists because they're calling it victim shaming, and it's like, it's not victim shaming, but at some point...
Well, first of all, you need to be a victim. And I'm going to stand firm, and I don't care if I get based on the evidence that I read right now, and I'm going to read more, so this is going to be a premature assumption.
Well, everything is based on that Babe article.
Exactly.
Everything's on that. Nothing.
And I do know that Aziz didn't refute any of it. He just said, like, that's not the way I remember it.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry if that's the way you felt that night or whatever, which I feel like is an honest answer.
Right.
Like, what the hell is he supposed to do? Here's $10 million. I'm sorry. Like,
I don't know.
And so, but I'm saying, based on what I've read so far and what you've told me, she should have said no. Okay? And some people are going to be like, you shouldn't have to say no. You should just be able to. Yeah, but you don't know that with every single person. Who the hell knows what the fuck was going on that date? Who the fuck knows?
Well, and
she could have been smiles and laughter and everything was fun.
Well, she got naked. She let him go down on her. She went down on him twice. That's what it says. She went down on him twice.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. This is adding more evidence to what I'm saying.
And it's not.
It's just like,
this is where we get into that area where I don't want it. She has all the right to feel it the way she did, but
absolutely,
she didn't need to go run to a blog.
And even if she did, I need to read this article because I don't know how it was framed. But the way the publicity is making it out to be...
The canceled Masters of None, so...
They canceled it?
Canceled it. That one blog canceled the show. You're not going to see him on TV for a while. Maybe never because he's fucking brown.
See, I didn't know they canceled it. That's fucking stupid. But the point is, what I'm trying to say is, I don't know how the article was written, but from what the reaction is, it made it seem like a reveal story, the Me Too thing. Hence, a Me Too. Like, yes, I was also assaulted. If she wrote a blog about it and just my experiences with Aziz, but didn't frame it as like, yeah, I was also fucking sexually assaulted. Because if I was someone, and I don't know, but if I was raped by an executive or I was a part of the Me Too movement in some way, and I know that's not the point of the Me Too movement. I know the Me Too movement is anybody who's ever received any sort of like a slap on the ass at work, whatever, right? Like, that's the whole purpose of it. But if I was sexually assaulted and then I hear this person crying wolf basically about how they were sexually assaulted,
Piss
because
you off.
I would be like, what the fuck did you do to deserve what you have? And if that's victim shaming, I don't give a fuck, because you shouldn't be in that position, assuming everything that was written is factual. You know, the whole the blowjob, whatever, going down on each other multiple times in the same evening, unless it was forced, which I haven't read one thing about how he forced her to oral sex or vice versa. Where the fuck is the issue? I don't get it. If you were willing to go that far, willingly going to be able to go that far, where's the dilemma?
Well,
because you had a bad night? Because you watched Seinfeld? Because what was it supposed to be? Was it supposed to be we're supposed to date 3 or 4, fucking go on a date 3 or 4 times and then have sex?
Okay, it's the same thing that's happening on college campuses with the date rape thing. I'm not saying this is, once again, to clarify, I'm not saying that everyone is making up stories, but there have been quite a few cases where it was just regret the next day. She got drunk, she hooked up with the guy.
Or a friend said, hey, you know, that kind of sounds like rape.
Or a friend exactly said something to
him. Again, it fucking sucks. I hate that I have to fucking backtrack and say, well, I'm not saying all, because it should just be assumed that we should just be able to have a conversation. But everything's so fucking heated where you have to say, well, you know, I'm not saying everything's like this, or I'm not saying that rape doesn't exist in college, because clearly it does. I know people who were raped in college, and they haven't been out about it. They have kept it with themselves, and I'm not going to be one to say, oh, well, so-and-so, da-da-da.
No, not at all.
And that it's, because it's not my place. But
there's a double standard.
There's a double standard.
Because the guy's drunk too.
No one will acknowledge on the left that there is a gray area. No one fucking acknowledges this gray area. No one acknowledges that consent, this non-verbal, what's the other one they use? The microaggressions. And I'm not saying that's what prompts people to know that you want to say no, but all these little like movements, subtle movements that you're supposed to pick up on. And it's like, There's clear signs, 100% clear signs. But again, it's like, how are you going to stop human interaction, right? You can't pick up everything. That's why we can speak fucking English. That's why we can talk. No means no. I've always felt that no means no. Yes, there's a playful no sometimes that exists. That's a part of this gray area. But like I said in previous podcasts, that gray area no only works if you've been dating them, if you're whatever, where you know that where you.
I mean, I don't even want to put qualifications on. That's
though.
I get you. Yeah.
If you've never met this person, you're going out with them the first time. They tell you no, you better stop. You better do whatever. Which is why the whole thing about the mirror thing. If he wanted to have sex in front of a mirror, she said no. They go get dressed and watch Seinfeld. You're like all the other guys. Well, what the fuck is it?
Right.
Did you want him to rape you then? So he could be like all the other guys, which is currently being propagated by everybody, that like pretty much all men are rapists. I don't know how many times I've seen on Facebook and since the Aziz thing, and then because of all the shit where we've seen like, we need to give men a new tutorial on consent. We need to teach them about this. And it's like, why is it always fucking me doing something when women like to talk about, when women are just as horny as men. Women can do everything else like men can do. Equality and this and that. Well, then it's like, if we're just as fucked up and we're equals, then that means you're just as fucked up, right? And this, now I'm getting into to fucking hot water here by talking like this because I'm going on a rant. You probably should reel me in.
I think you should superimpose for that whole rant trigger warning, like transparently on it.
I think it should, because it's. But I'm just fucking saying, man, it sucks because
no, but I have no
problem with women. I have no problem with men.
We're at a point now where it's getting overwhelming. Everything, it's getting so crazy and like, it feels like you can't do anything. You have to watch everything you say. It's not just women and rape and sexual assault. It's just, I talked about this with someone the other day.
What do you teach your kid?
It's about everything now. It's about race. It's about gender. It's about sexuality.
Right, what do you teach your kid?
I don't know.
Because like, I would hate to grow up right now and be in high school with hormones and like, well, how the fuck do you talk to a woman? Do you approach them? Do you like, hey, I'm gonna approach you right now and ask you out? Is that okay?
It's funny. What's funny about this all, or ironic, is that for a culture that wants to be so progressive, this behavior is super regressive.
100%.
It's like totally turning back the clock 100 years, back to like proper courtship where, you know, you had to ask someone's father if they could take them out for coffee or take them out for tea and crumpets.
Which should be also bad, by the way, because it would be like, well, I'm a woman, I don't need the permission of my father,
exactly.
Or vice versa. Men could say it too.
And then it just makes people even more confused, really.
And I think we need to take a step back and acknowledge that these, and I've already said it, but there's a lot of positive that comes from these changes.
Absolutely.
We're going through the growing pains right now, and a lot of positive comes out of it. I'm sure putting a spotlight on sexual assault in the Hollywood industry and just in general is a good thing. I just think the more we do it, and I think, unfortunately, and it is ironic that there's so many fucking people out there who have done heinous shit, that you only need, let me put it this way. Let's say there's 10,000 actors in Hollywood that work all the time. I'm just putting a number out there. It's probably way less, but let's just say it's 10,000. You get 100 cases, you can get 10 cases, and it's like, oh shit. There's a problem in Hollywood.
Right.
You get 100, and it's a fucking ordeal. It's an epidemic.
Yep.
Even though that still leaves 9,900 people out there who are perfectly fine, quote unquote, and there's no problems with them. And so it's kind of, and that's where it leads to, like a witch.
Well, and I mean, right now we got cases, people talking about shit that happened 40 years ago, you know, and you haven't had.
Well, Bill Cosby's a rapist.
I'm not talking Bill Cosby. I'm talking Dustin Hoffman. Something happened 40 years ago where the culture was different, whatever. And I'm not saying what he did was right, but you're talking about something 40 years ago. No one else has come forward and said that Dustin Hoffman did anything crazy. You just have one person that said something that happened 40 years ago. That dude, I mean,
I think, honestly, genuinely, if that shit happened in the 70s or wherever it did, okay, let's just say it happened. I still haven't read up on what it was because I need to watch that John Oliver video, but let's just say it was as bad as it was, okay? Then, you know, what would be Dustin Hoffman's punishment? You can't send him to jail at this point, but maybe he should donate to some abused charities or whatever.
He's
dead.
I
know, but I'm just saying, you know.
But I'm saying that we're like, we're throwing all these people into the same bin, and it's like, no, I don't think you can. You can't put Dustin Hoffman and Harvey Weinstein in the same thing together because number one, Harvey Weinstein never stopped. Dustin Hoffman, who knows the whole story behind what happened with him. I mean, his explanation, he was kind of like, he wasn't expecting any of these questions, and he got hit with them, so he like kind of reacted in an odd way. He's an 80-year-old man.
There's varying degrees to everything.
Yeah.
You know, there's a recent case right now to a death metal band that I like a lot, Decapitated. I don't know if you heard about them.
No.
So they are Polish, I believe, and technical death metal band. Like I said, I've followed them for years, and they came out to America to do a tour. And I was going to go to this show. I was going to go to this exact show, and excuse me. And I think we were doing a podcast or something. I couldn't go. And it was in Orange County or Santa Monica. Or no, Orange County. It was in Orange County. The show was in Orange County. And after the show, they were all arrested. The Orange County PD arrested them because a girl accused all of them of gang rape. She had all these bruises on her and everything like that. They said that she said that they took her to the tour bus and they all took turns and just raped her. Just straight rape. That's what they did. They all took part in it. And they pled innocence from the beginning, right?
Right.
And it was a month. It was they couldn't go back to Poland, or I forget where it was. I think it's Poland. They couldn't go back. They were held on like $250,000 bail each. Like it was some big thing, right? 'Cause they had to get extradited to Washington because the crime happened in Washington, and they got arrested in Orange County, and it was just this big old long thing, and they dropped the case finally because the victim, they dropped the charges because basically Decapitated had been getting enough people as evidence to say that none of that shit happened, that the bruises were all sustained because she was moshing the whole time.
Right.
She was with a friend, and the friend was drunk and wandering. Like, it was this whole long story. The point is, I say all this to say, this is a story in which this whole thing was utilized. I'm not saying she wasn't a Me Too'er, but she was utilizing, like, oh, I was this, I was that. She was drunk. But the facts started coming out that it was not true. So to discredit the justice system, like I had done a few months ago during the Weinstein thing, I don't think is a valid option anymore. We're getting to the point now where when you're ending people's career, I personally feel like they should sue this woman,
right,
for damages, 100%. They probably won't, because I don't know how they'd be able to do that as they're Polish. But it's just like they're selling all their merchandise for like $5 right now because they owe the promoters money because they missed the whole fucking tour.
Right.
You know, they're still responsible for that merchandise. I'm gonna buy some because I fucking $5 merchandise is great. but you get my point though. It's like they have to. Their fucking lives, and that's assume that people were gonna want to promote a tainted death metal band, which is hard enough as it is to be a death metal band.
It's people's livelihoods are getting affected. I mean, that's the problem.
If you
more than the justice system, and that's, I think people need to, because that author, the one that wrote The Handmaid's Tale, got caught heat from neo-feminists. Because she said, like, we need to let the justice system, like, take, because one of her friends was like a professor and he got accused of something, and I don't know, I think the case, I'm not sure what's going on with the case, but she's like, before you completely, lampoon this guy, you need to let the justice system take its place.
I think you need to, man.
And the problem with Hollywood now more than anything is like the court of opinion is ruling everything.
100%.
And these are things like, if everything comes out that it's all bullshit, you're never going to come back from it because you're still going to have that.
Which is why this
what happens is every little interaction that you've ever had with anyone starts getting microanalyzed by that person. Like,
and it makes you, and I've done some thinking like, okay, if I ever.
My thing is this too, like, I think Aziz Ansari is like very like sensitive to women and stuff, and he puts out a certain facade of who he may or may not be, because before he was famous, that motherfucker was not getting fucking laid. This dude's ugly as fuck. And
I can't comment on that.
And I think and this is a joke, but at the same time it's kind of serious. Like, there might be a certain point where he doesn't really know how to handle a group because he's never had one. Now he's in this fucking weird situation where he's got a little bit of fucking power.
Like I said, I don't know.
And he's trying to take advantage of it.
But I understand what you're saying, though.
No,
it'd be like me fucking getting on a hit sitcom or something and be like, oh, attention?
Dude.
What do I do with all this attention?
At the end of the day, what these celebrity dudes need to do to fucking protect their asses.
They need to jerk off more.
Nope. They need to go the Derek Jeter route. One,
Just buy a hot ass mom.
no cell phones allowed in his house. You have to leave your cell phone at the front door.
Jeter's a G, that's why.
And two, pretty sure he's got a vaginal release form.
Well, so does, is it R. Kelly? No.
See, R. Kelly.
Who's the one? No. Who's the one who beat up Rihanna?
Oh, Chris Brown.
Chris Brown. He has that.
He has a vaginal release form.
He has release forms. You have to give your phone to his manager or whoever his like head bodyguard is as soon as you come into the house. Like that's 100% like what he does. And you know, I kind of see the point in it. I get it. And then because people are gonna be like, well, just be a good person. You don't have anything to worry about.
Fuck that. No, once you get to me and you, we have to be good people. But once you're at a certain level of celebrity where people can cost you your money, your life, so on and so forth, I think you need to make it very clear. You need to go J.R. Smith style and say in the DMs when someone slides in your DMs, you trying to catch the pipe or what?
Be upfront about it.
Exactly. And I think
you know.
And I think maybe Aziz thought he was being upfront with this girl.
It doesn't even sound like it was that bad. It sounded like he had a bad date.
I don't want to say it was a bad date. Obviously, it wasn't.
But I mean, it sounds like a bad date.
Yeah.
Like a bad date.
And that's what people are saying too. That's what a lot of people are saying. It just sounds like a bad date. And the thing like I said at the beginning, the thing that's upsetting people more than anything was like there's plenty of opportunities to leave and you still stayed there.
But is it worth ruining his whole fucking life over? He has one life.
I don't blame her, man. That's the thing is I don't blame her.
I'm not blaming her at all.
It's the culture that we're in right now where like you feel obligated to do that because that's what we're pushing. We're vilifying people so much that it gets to the point where that you feel because of this microaggressions and everything. Now you feel that you were essentially raped because what went down because shitty sex happened because of shitty date. I don't say it's right at all. No, you don't agree with that's the culture that we're in right now?
No. I think that the media propagates things to a higher degree than they actually are.
Absolutely.
Because and my proof is in the pudding. When any of these things that have come out again, like Ben Affleck touching a girl or Casey Affleck doing this, no one really batted an eye about it. You know, even Nate Parker, it kind of tanked his movie. But Woody Allen and all these other famous examples that we could use that have kind of been pushed under the rug, even people who've admitted, Corey Feldman, like all these things kind of just went by Michael Jackson kind of just went by the wayside. You know, if Michael Jackson were alive today and the child molestation trial went on today, right now, he'd be fucked. And it's because what is the number one thing trending in music? Oh, Aziz had a bad date. Okay, how can we spice this up? How can we make it seem? Because obviously it was a blog post, right?
Right.
She knew if she wrote a blog post on this website, on babe.com, that fucking news sites would be all over it. Because how else are people getting news nowadays?
Yeah.
Who's going to break the story first? What blog site? What Twitter post? What whatever? Oh, this thing? Okay, let's see. Is this... Oh, yeah. Let's get into contact with the author. Let's make sure it's valid and we can write our post on it or whatever. You can write an op-ed. And so I'm just saying, we see these things on Facebook. We see it on Twitter. We see it on the news. That's all we care about. It's like Trump. Any little thing, Trump saying that Haiti and African countries are shitholes. And we don't have any audio proof of that. We just have sources, and we're going to believe that, okay, because Trump has said other shit, he's going to say this too. And I'm not defending Trump. I'm just saying we get a soundbite, fucking big, huge news thing.
Oh, everything is blown up.
And it's like everything is blown up.
Like nobody...
So like any little freaking micro thing that happens is news.
I mean, and then we can do a whole podcast about like journalistic integrity.
Well, I'm saying that's why the contract is important.
No, for sure. Well, media controls the narrative, and that's what's going on right now. And
I know this sounds like hippy dippy shit, but it's
true. And that's that. I mean, I feel like what else can we say about this? I just I hope no one got severely offended or triggered by what we said.
People
Daniel doesn't
really
give
triggered.
a shit. But that's going to do it for us.
I mean, I care. I do go one last thing, and this is the last thing. I do care about people's opinions. I don't know everything in the world. If you do have an alternate point, I'd love to fucking talk to you about it. I do talk to everybody about it. I debate things because that's the only way you can grow. I just feel like I'm done backtracking on myself.
Right.
I did that shit way too much in college where I thought that's what I needed to do. I need to appease the SJWs. I need to do this. I need to... Oh, you want to be referred to as this gender pronoun? Okay. And it's like, oh, I'm supposed to ask you, do you identify... What do you identify as, Gian? Because I've never asked you that in my entire life. Because I'm supposed to do that. Yeah. Are you male, female?
I'm a fucking big bald baby.
Okay, so I don't know what gender that is. Is that a male or?
Well, I think the balls.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It doesn't.
Nah, I'm all.
You
about,
can be bald. You can have balls and a penis. It doesn't make you a man.
I'm all about that Razor Ramon machismo.
Well, but you get my point.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
In college, I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry that I didn't call you X. Insert pronoun here. Whatever. That was totally me. As opposed to like now, it'd be like, okay, wait, you're gonna tell me that you identify as this, which is fine, but you're gonna argue that females and males are fucking socially constructed? No. Science says no. When you fucking stick a male penis in a female vagina, that's how you make babies. You can identify as a female all you want if you have male genitalia. But if you stick your male dick in a female vagina, you're going to have a baby. Okay?
Right.
It's not like women who identify as women can have a baby with another woman that identifies as a man.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is just stuff that I was blind to, that I'm just tired and I'm not gonna take anymore. Literally the whole network scene where I'm just tired as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore. I'm done backtracking.
And for me,
but I'm willing to grow. I always change.
See, I'm not gonna be as combative as you are when it comes to that situation. I'm just gonna leave.
Well, yeah, you just ignore it.
I'm just gonna and then keep walking and like okay, this is someone I'm probably not gonna deal with because I just don't feel like it. It's not worth my time.
I agree, and the people I've had conversations with.
I mean, we need to wrap this up, so
that's true.
Like, because we could go on and on about this. I mean, I have a completely different fucking subservient theory about what this whole movement is about. But that's for another day, and when we can bring some guests on.
It's about the lizard.
It is about the lizard. But that's gonna do it for us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're listening, we're on SoundCloud. We're on iTunes. As you're probably on iTunes, make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave us a review, 5 stars. Let us know how shitty we are, but put 5 stars next to our shitty review. We're also on Overcast and Stitcher Radio. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. Hit the like button, leave us comments. Get debate. We like to debate. Don't go on there and tell. I mean, you can. We're just not gonna pay attention to you. Don't go on there and tell us that we're pig men trash. Like,
no, please do tell
enablers.
us that.
Like, yeah. I mean, Daniel might engage with you.
I definitely will.
I'm not gonna engage with you, but if you want to have a discussion, I'm more than happy to go on and share and tell me where I'm wrong and tell me where you think you agree with me. And the same goes for Daniel. Unless you want to insult him because he likes to talk shit back. But that's going to do it for us. We're out.